We hear a lot of talk about self-care these days, but with all these tips and tricks floating around, we wondered, what is real self-care for women? What's that one thing that you can start doing today to feel better? What does it look like? What does it feel like? Sound like? Where can it take you? Can you decide on one thing? Just one thing that you can start doing daily that makes you feel better? Thought, an action, something to fuel your mind, your body, or your spirit. Don't wait. Do that one thing today. You deserve it.
Good evening, everybody. Thanks for sharing your time with us. I'm Tanya Salituro. I'm founder of CanPrev Natural Health, and I'm broadcasting to you today, logging in from north of Toronto on my hobby farm where I've been learning organic farming the last 5 years. It's been a bit weird to be here completely for 3 months, but I think you all know how that feels if you've been in isolation the way I have been. It's going to be a great evening tonight of both education and some interesting insights and experiences from our guest speaker and myself. Just wanted to share a little bit about my story before we get started. And I think you're going to be hearing a bit of our guest speaker's story as well. As some of you know, I had breast cancer 3 times. So 3 separate diagnoses and 3 separate journeys. And my body actually has a lot of ugly scars, but I consider them my battle scars. And those scars have made me a stronger person with more character. And something else that is really good that came out of my whole experience with cancer is this wonderful company called CanPrev. And what's so wonderful about it is just how much it's helping people so much. And we get the notes and the Facebook messages every day that keeps us going. 15 is a special number for me this year because I am 15 years cancer free. And our company, thanks, Sam. Ooh, I wasn't supposed to say your name yet. 15 years cancer free. My journey with cancer was 15 years long. And our company is celebrating its 15th anniversary. Yay! Our mission hasn't changed. In 15 years, we have always tried to bring more options for Canadians in natural health, safe and effective products, vitamins, supplements to help Canadians across the country and to bring up health for Canadians. Some of you might know that CanPrev actually stands for You Can Prevent. And if I could prevent anyone from going through what I went through, I would. I have traveled the country the last 2 years before COVID, so pre-COVID, and I heard that everyone has a story, not just me. And everyone in some way, shape, or form has sort of been to hell and back or are struggling with something. And what the CanPrev team and I learned is that we really need our community around us. We need our friends, our family, even if it's just one person or one group. And that can make all the difference in your health struggles. So tonight is not just about education, but it's also about community. And by logging in, you are now part of my community and I'm part of yours. And if you ever want to write to me personally, you can write to asktanya@canprev.ca. asktanya@canprev.ca. We have always looked at health in a holistic way, our company, and I'm so excited that we have a holistic nutritionist with us this evening. Samantha Gladish is also a hormone expert, and she is a published author. So I have read your book, by the way. I don't know if I told you that. It's awesome. It's such a good read that it's the kind of read you don't want to put down because you're just learning. So great stuff. I do have an idea tonight for an icebreaker for everybody, all our guests out there, and for you too, Samantha. So the icebreaker is, what is one positive thing that has happened for you during either COVID times, or if you want to call it isolation? And I'm going to share what my one thing is. It's pretty personal. I've been ditching my bra. I
That's
hope a lot of
amazing.
you have been too. But my bra has a weighted prosthesis, so it's so nice to just do away with that. But I did put one on for you guys tonight. Anyway, without further ado, I'm going to challenge you, Sam, with letting us know what your icebreaker is, and I'll turn it over to you.
Amazing. Awesome. Well, thank you so much, Tanya, for sharing your story. It's such a powerful story of resiliency, and I'm so grateful to be here with you tonight. So thank you for that. And my icebreaker, the good thing that has come out of COVID is that I've taken on some new skills, and one of those skills is learning how to bake gluten-free sourdough. So I've had my fair share over these
my
past
gosh.
few months.
You
But
don't
yes,
look like it.
yeah, thank you. And so it's funny actually, we were supposed to get married on Friday, and so I keep looking at my wedding dress in the closet, and I'm like, well, maybe I should cut back on that bread because I got to still fit in that wedding dress in the year. But yes, I've been making gluten-free sourdough. I will post the recipe on my site so everybody
Oh,
can see.
awesome. I will be making it.
Yes, and then for all of our listeners and attendees tonight, you guys can go ahead into the questions box. There's a little questions box to the side, and you can just go in there and type in your questions, your comments. We want to know your icebreaker, what you've been learning over the past few months. So you can go ahead and share that in the questions there.
Yeah, and if I might add, there's a lot of information tonight, and I don't want people to feel overwhelmed, but if you could just kind of look for one nugget, one takeaway that's going to help you on your hormone journey, that's all we can ask for. That's all we can hope for. So relax and enjoy.
Amazing. All right, ladies. So I can see some really great comments here. I've learned patience, more quality time to teach my kids to cook and bake. Oh, I love it. It's so beautiful. So keep sharing there. Thank you so much for that. And
oh, and I might add, sorry,
yes,
Sam.
Tanya, go for it.
If anybody can hang around, hopefully you can. There is a questionnaire at the end, and that is going to enter you into our draw. It's a random draw, and the questionnaire will be open for 5 days. So if you don't have a chance this evening, you've got five days to enter, and you are going to get the most amazing prize pack. I think you can see it maybe on your screen. It's Samantha's book and a bunch of our CanPrev products, some of our favorites.
Amazing. Yes. So ladies, you don't want to miss out on that. It's going to be a fantastic prize pack. Supplements that are going to help support, balance your hormones. Plus, you got my book, so you're going to have some really great protocols that you can follow along in there. So it's going to be really, really great. And do stay till the end, so you'll get the link to fill out the hormone questionnaire, and then you'll be entered to win one of the prize packs. And do stay to the end too, so we can answer your questions as well, because we want to know what you're dealing with, where you're feeling stuck. Is it PMS? Is it menopause? Is it weight gain? PCOS? Let us know. We want to help support you. So post those questions in the question box, okay? And we'll be sure to get to those in the end. So let's get started. Let's officially dive in here. We've got lots to cover tonight. And one of the main areas we really wanted to focus on is cortisol, because, well, I think we've all experienced stress in our lives, and perhaps right now during this time, right? We're going through some stressful periods. So I know I've dealt with quite some stressors in my life, being an entrepreneur for sure. And, stress, specifically cortisol, it gets a bad rap, but it's really important. It's a very important hormone, and it's a very smart hormone. It's a very strategic thinking hormone. If we weren't producing cortisol, we literally would not be alive. We wouldn't be here right now. So we need cortisol. It's just that We want it in the right amount. We don't want too little of it. We don't want too much of it. And it's a really powerful hormone because what it does is really alert your nervous system to different threats. And it will help to regulate other hormones in your body as well. And especially your blood sugar. It really helps to balance out your blood sugar. Cortisol almost speaks to your insulin, which manages your blood sugar. So they're very powerful hormones in the body. And the thing is with cortisol is that we only want it in small amounts, right? If we are dealing with something that's life-threatening, if we are dealing with, of course, the loss of a loved one, yes, that's a stressor. That's a deep psychological stressor, and that's a time where we're going to want those adrenal glands to go to work for us, right? But it's our everyday stressors like the to-do list with 25 different things on it, or the finances and the bills and the relationships and the kids and the work that's piling up on your desk. It's all of these things that's causing your cortisol to just skyrocket. That's what we don't want. And so what happens over time is that your body doesn't return that cortisol back to normal. It ends up going way too high, and then you get this crash and ends up going way too low. So let's take a look at a picture of your adrenal glands and where they actually sit. I think it's important to know this. I always love visuals, and your adrenal glands are very tiny, but they're very mighty, and they sit on top of your kidneys. So that's where they are, and that's how big they are. They're pretty tiny. So they're pretty powerful in your body. So moving on, dysregulated cortisol. Let's talk about that, because there's a lot of things that cause your cortisol to kind of get out of whack. So infections, this is a big one. Sometimes there are some deep-rooted infections in our body, gut infections that can cause adrenal issues and our stress hormones to rise. Basically, when you have these underlying infections, it's a stressor to the body. And so what does your body do? It's a natural response. It's going to increase that cortisol. We can also have different physical stresses. So perhaps you have some kind of a physical injury, poor nutrition, if we're overdoing it, with gluten, dairy, soy, sugar, carbs. Those are some of the big ones.
Oh yeah, for sure.
Right? And I know every time I say that, people are like, well, then what's left to eat? And trust me, there's so much left to eat. Okay. Psychological stressors, high blood sugar causes adrenal issues. If there's chronic inflammation going on, which is often caused by our diet as well, toxicity, environmental toxins, all of this can really lead to adrenal resistance, to elevated cortisol, and then we're going to get a host of symptoms that are going to show up, from high blood sugar, which could lead to diabetes, high blood pressure, insomnia, hypothyroidism, so low thyroid function, poor digestion, decreased immune function, constipation, all of the things start to show up. So, chronically elevated cortisol will lead to a host of symptoms, which we see here on this next slide. So let's kind of just dive in a little bit deeper here to some of these symptoms and really talk about how it's not normal. It's not normal.
Right.
It's a normal response that your body has these symptoms. Absolutely. It's a normal response, but it's not normal to feel this way all of the time, right? We really want to feel, we want to thrive. We want to feel energetic. And if we've got all these symptoms going on, then we're really not going to be functioning at our very best. So like I mentioned earlier, high blood pressure, insulin resistance, sugar and salt cravings. This is a big one. I experienced that for sure. I know when I'm craving a lot of that salt, yeah, right? Or we're reaching for the chocolate or something like that, right? Those cravings. And that can really be a sign of adrenal resistance and adrenal fatigue. Weight gain is a really big one. I work with a lot of women in my practice that are looking to lose weight. Decreased immune function, poor concentration, right? If your adrenals are constantly going and you got all these stressors on your plate, your brain's got a lot to handle, and it's going to lack focus and concentration, even forgetfulness. And then of course, PMS and our cycles can definitely get worse, and we can start to experience a host of PMS symptoms, right? Menopause, right? Yeah, I think many of us have. And if anybody can relate to this, please share it in the questions box there, and we will be sure to come back and get to some of those questions and whatnot.
And I'm definitely getting close to those menopause things.
Right? Yes.
Yeah.
And I'm sure there's a lot of women on here too who might be experiencing or heading into those premenopausal years. And I can tell you, I mean, at 37 years old, like when you hit your mid 30s, your hormones start to change, right? So it's so important that as we age, we have to really implement and integrate self-care on a whole other level. We really can't take advantage of our bodies the way maybe we did in our teens and our 20s. It just doesn't work that way anymore. And then
Yeah,
of course,
and
yes,
if I
and
may interject,
yes,
I felt really amazing when I turned 50 earlier this year, but I do find that a little more achy after my workouts, a little more achy in the morning. And so if you think you're taking it to a new level in your 30s, look out. But I'm glad you're taking care of yourself early. So that's a good thing.
thank you. Yes, I mean that's why we all really want you here tonight, because it's prevention. This is so important. And
Yeah.
I know that prevention often doesn't sound very sexy, but it's very, very important. So thank you, Tanya, for sharing that. And just finishing off this list here, low thyroid function is often what women experience when there's a lot of adrenal issues going on and stress, and then of course estrogen dominance as well. So those are the not normal symptoms of adrenal fatigue. So let's kind of move on and let's go into the different stages of adrenal fatigue, because there's 3 different stages, and perhaps some of you are in one of these stages, and if you are, go ahead and share that with us in the question box there. So stage 1 of adrenal fatigue, wired and tired. Been there. And this is where you have naturally elevated cortisol in the morning, which is a good thing. We actually do want our cortisol to be high in the morning. That's what wakes us up and gets us out of bed in the morning. And at nighttime, we have, when our cortisol should be low, our cortisol ends up staying high. And this is where we get this wired but tired feeling. So oftentimes I do a lot of Dutch hormone testing in my practice, and it's really cool because we can see your cortisol curve throughout the day. How much cortisol do you produce when you wake up? What does it look like 2 hours after you wake up? What does it look like mid-afternoon? And what does it look like in the evening? And so if I see this just raised cortisol throughout the whole day, I know that that client of mine is experiencing this wired and tired feeling. Your cortisol should taper off at the end of the day so that you can produce your melatonin, your sleepy hormone. But if your cortisol is raised, you're going to feel really tired, but you're going to feel wired, like you can't actually get to sleep. So I'm curious if anybody is experiencing that. So this is what we call the wired and tired phase. And you will typically feel a little bit on edge in this phase. So let's move on to phase number 2, stage 2, and this is stressed and tired, right? So the second stage, more severe cortisol disruption is happening here. You have higher cortisol in the morning, but it ends up falling and dropping off really quickly in the mid-morning, early afternoon. And this will lead to an afternoon fog and this tiredness and this forgetfulness, where you might be feeling like you need that sugar, that donut, or you really need the coffee. You need the pick-me-up, basically mid-afternoon. That's what's happening here. And then at nighttime, you're getting the second wind, but you're tired, and so you got like all these ideas and your brain is buzzing and you're getting the second wind at night, and you might be able to fall asleep, but you end up waking up and have a really hard time getting back to sleep. So that's what stage 2 kind of looks like. So let's dive into stage number 3 here, and this is basically full-on burnout. This is the phase where what I often like to say is that if you are a woman that is either in early pregnancy or you've had a new baby at home and you're just exhausted all the time, this is like what full burnout will feel like. And if you are listening to this tonight and you have a newborn at home, then I get it. You're off the hook right now because you are not going to probably have a regular sleep schedule, and I can't fully relate because I don't have kids, but I can respect that. So this is basically where you will experience this full burnout. You're just completely bottomed out. Your cortisol has been basically completely flatlined. And what happens here is when you're not producing enough cortisol, where you went from overproducing it to now just totally flatline, you can really increase your risk of thyroid disease, autoimmune disease, and you can also lead to more gut issues as well. So basically, moving on to this next slide, you got all these symptoms that are showing up. You've got the cramps and the high, going from the high cortisol to the low cortisol. You're feeling exhausted, you're fatigued, you can't sleep. Even if you do sleep, you wake up in the morning and you don't feel well rested, dry skin, your hair might be falling out, low libido. I know it doesn't sound very exciting. And Tanya, I know that you've had your own experience with adrenal burnout as well. Why don't you share with us what that experience was like?
Well, it wasn't quite stage 3, I would say. It was more like stage 2. And I didn't know that I had it because you start to think that that's normal. You start to think you're supposed to be tired all the time. And what happened was about 12 years ago, our formulators, our naturopathic doctors, created a product called Adrenal Pro. And so, being a good customer, I said, oh, I'll try it. But I did not think I needed any adrenal help because I was Superwoman.
Of course.
Wrong, wrong, wrong. About 3.5 weeks into taking it, I became a whole new person. And I've heard other people say, maybe not 3.5 weeks, it might be a month, 2 months. If you had full burnout, it might take 4 months. But what happened was I woke up in the morning and I didn't want to roll over and go back to sleep. I felt really fresh. Oh, this is good. Got up at 5 in the morning, got everything done before the kids were awake, lunches were made, floor was swept, laundry was started. And about 9 o'clock at night, I felt tired, and 10 o'clock, I went to sleep. 7 hours deep, deep sleep, not getting up, not tossing and turning, not stressing over things. So my energy and my sleep was amazing. And then what I noticed was I realized that I wasn't yearning for a midday nap. My after lunch kind of slump wasn't happening. I was like the Energizer bunny, if I might say that, every hour of every day, and then just exhausted at night and having a wonderful sleep. And so I encourage everybody to work on their adrenals, even if you think you don't need it, and give it a try.
Definitely. I love that. Thanks so much for sharing that. And I'm sure a lot of women can definitely relate to that. So continuing on here with adrenal fatigue, what I really want to bring to light here is that adrenal fatigue was kind of this made up term in the sort of holistic space. What's really happening with adrenal fatigue is that it's otherwise known as HPA axis dysfunction. Now, I'm not going to give you like a whole class here on what that all means. Don't worry, we're not going into like biology class or anything like that. But HPA axis, what that stands for is your hypothalamus pituitary adrenal axis. So you've got your hypothalamus and your pituitary glands in your brain. They speak and communicate with your adrenals. They speak to your entire body. And so that's really what's happening here, is that when you are experiencing this adrenal fatigue, what's really happening is there's a miscommunication happening between the brain and the adrenals. You've been asking your brain for so many years, hey, give me cortisol, give me cortisol, give me cortisol. At one point, your brain is just going to be like, no, like I'm cutting you off right now. We're so tired. We're exhausted. We can't keep going through this cycle. So some other really interesting things that will impact your adrenal glands is blue light pollution. So if you're not familiar with this, basically what it means is the light that's coming off of your computer screen, your tablets, your phones, the TV. This is why I really recommend using blue light blocking glasses. So I do have a pair here. I wasn't wearing them because I didn't think they were that pretty, but these are the ones that I have. It's just that there's such a glare with these ones specifically, so that's why I wasn't wearing them. But these are the ones that I typically wear when I'm at my computer all day. I got the little cat eye ones, trying to look a little bit feminine. My old ones that I have, I look like Terminator when I wear them. But
I don't think so, Sam.
the old ones that I had, they are like so super masculine and they had like the yellow lenses. But these ones are a lot nicer. These are the ones that I wear when I'm at my computer all day, or if I'm watching TV at night as well. If I'm staying up late watching TV, put your blue light blocking glasses on. It blocks the blue light, so it helps to support your adrenals, and it actually helps your body produce that natural melatonin. Because if you're exposed to that computer light all the time and then your phone, it will really shunt your melatonin production, which is your sleepy hormone. And we all want to sleep, right?
Well, yeah, and I was fortunate enough to have my eye doctor recommend that I get a blue light coating on my prescription
Oh, that's
glasses.
so great.
Yeah, so I'm covered.
That's a great tip, because maybe a lot of women don't know that they can ask that at their eye doctor. So ladies, I definitely recommend that. So blue light pollution, it's a big one. And I think that, we know about junk food, but I really think that there is such thing as junk light. And we really want to expose ourselves to the sun, the sunlight. We want that natural sunlight exposure. That's what sets our circadian rhythm. So many of us wake up, get ready for work in the morning. We're in our house in the morning, getting ready, hop in our car, drive straight to work. We're under artificial light all day. We're in front of the computer all day, hop back in the car, go home. We don't even see the sun. We don't get that natural exposure. So maybe if there's one big takeaway you might do from our webinar tonight, go outside every day, expose yourself to the sun, get that sunlight. It's really going to help support your circadian production, which is your natural wake and sleep cycle, and that's going to really support your adrenal glands. Okay, so moving on, let's talk about stress and emotional eating, because there is a connection here, and I'm sure we have all experienced it. I mean, when you're stressed, I don't think anybody wants a kale salad. I'll just have a kale salad when I'm really stressed. We probably don't say that. We want pizza, we want a glass of wine, we want the bowl of pasta, right?
Oh
So
yeah.
there is a connection here between stress and emotional eating. Stress causes our cortisol, our stress hormone, to rise, okay? So it increases. And when you have higher amounts of cortisol, it can actually lead to more belly fat. It can lead to more weight gain, that inflammatory weight in the belly area, which is what we don't want. And when that happens and we have this higher cortisol, it ends up causing us to want to reach for more high carbohydrate foods, because what's happening is that the cortisol levels go up. It's speaking to your insulin over here, and then your insulin starts to go up. And both of those hormones, they're fat storing hormones. And so they both go up. You're stressed, your blood sugar wants something, it wants comfort food. And so you reach for the sugar, you reach for the carbohydrates, and then the weight comes on. And it's this nasty cycle of craving sugar, craving carbs, and then the weight's coming on, the hormones are imbalanced, you feel fatigue, and it's just this cycle that becomes really, really hard to break. So we want to share some strategies tonight how you can actually break that. Okay, so let's move on to thyroid and adrenals, because there is a really big connection here. And before we go on, I believe that Tanya has also had her experience. I know I've had my experience with thyroid issues, and Tanya also has as well. So before we dive into this, Tanya, share with us what you've been through with thyroid health.
Well, my doctor noticed that I had little bumps on my thyroid, and they were diagnosed as nodules. They were benign, thank God. And this was even before I started CanPrev. And my my specialist for thyroid said, "Why don't we check your levels?" And it turned out that I was hypothyroid. And he said, "Now I can give you some medication for that." And I said, "Well, let me just see if I can try some natural stuff first." And it turns out that iodine was very helpful for me. Living in the Great Lakes area, we don't have a lot of iodine in our diet. For you who are blessed out on the coasts, East Coast and West Coast, you get a lot more iodine in your diet. So our thyroids over here tend to have a lot of trouble. And I guess once I started to support my thyroid, it was an energy boost. It was such an energy boost, and a bonus was that my hair wasn't falling out so much. Like, it was pretty noticeable, my hair loss. And then when I started supporting my thyroid, the hair loss is fine. And as for metabolism, I was having a lot of trouble losing the weight after having kids. My first two kids, I didn't have as much trouble later with my second two kids, but I think because I was supporting my thyroid. So starting to lose those extra pounds that you just can't take no matter what you do, but having your metabolism kicking in and like burning that fat, I was really grateful to my thyroid and for finding out that I needed help with it.
Amazing. So I'm so glad you took the natural approach there. And sometimes, ladies, listen, sometimes depending on what your thyroid labs are, you may need to use medication, and that's okay. There's nothing wrong with that, but it's important to work with the right practitioners and to get the right support so that you can see what all your options are before you make a decision. So thank you so much, Tanya, for sharing that. And I also want to mention, if you ladies heard, you said the age 50 when you turned 50. I'm sure many people were like, there's no way she's 50. Yeah,
Thank you so much.
that's the proof is right there in terms of, you know, self-care, nutrition, proper supplementation, how it can really serve and support us in a really big way. So that's awesome.
Well, unfortunately, I had to learn the hard way. I learned the hard way, and so now I've done my research, and I know how our soils are depleted, quite shockingly, and so our food is depleted, and so our bodies are depleted. And so yeah, self-care has been pretty high on my list. The more I researched and the more I learned about how much my body needed, and I really didn't want to have disease again. So a hard wake-up call.
Absolutely, absolutely. You know, your mess becomes your message, is what I always say, right?
Good one.
And yeah. So let's dive into thyroid and adrenals, because there's a really big connection here, and I think a lot of women don't realize that. And it's something I had to learn for myself as well. So your adrenals, just like I was saying, your brain speaks with your adrenals and your brain, they're communicating with your thyroid as well. So when you've got this high functioning adrenals, it means you've got low functioning thyroid. So if you are super stressed to the max, type A personality over here, I've been learning to manage that a lot better, trust me. But when you've got high adrenal function, it will mean that your thyroid output is going to be very low, which will lead to low thyroid function. So it's so important that if you've got thyroid issues, this is the question I get asked all the time. If I have low thyroid function, do I support the thyroid or do I support the adrenals? And oftentimes you got to support both. And so when you've got this cortisol secreted by the adrenal glands, it interferes with the normal production of your thyroid hormone. And so your thyroid, just seeing a visual here, is it's this little butterfly shaped right in the base of your neck. And you can see that there's a little image there that shows the pituitary gland, because your pituitary, your brain, the glands in your brain do speak with your thyroid. And so it's so important to, I always say, like, love and nourish your thyroid. Put your hand there, give it some love, give it a nice little massage. It's really important to know, like, where these glands are located. And then when we talk about your thyroid imbalance and what that actually looks like, there's a lot of good things that come when we support our thyroid, like Tanya was saying, you know, her metabolism and her energy, and, you know, all of this improved by supporting her thyroid. And this is exactly what we want to feel. We want to feel energetic. We want to feel healthy and slim and sexy and happy in our bodies and confident in our bodies. We want to have a healthy metabolism and not feel like just looking at a slice of cake is going to put 10 pounds on your body, right? We all want to sleep deeply. Sleep is so important because that is how our body is healing. And if you're not sleeping, your body is not healing. And we want our digestion to be flowing, right? We don't want to feel bloated and gassy and backed up. And oftentimes that happens when we have a sluggish thyroid. And then our thyroid, it governs the metabolism in our body. Yes, weight weight loss, weight gain, but it also governs the metabolism of our ovaries as well. So this is very important for reproduction and fertility. So for anybody who might be listening tonight who really wants to optimize and support their fertility, the thyroid is something to not, you don't want to overlook the thyroid. And so, yes. And so talking about thyroid out of balance, a whole host of symptoms can show up. And just like I was saying earlier with your adrenals and how those symptoms that can arise are not normal, it's the same thing here. It's normal that your body is having this response because your body is saying, hey, pay attention to me, something isn't right. But it's not normal to feel this way every day. We got to do something about it. So that's why we're here tonight, because we really want you to take charge and we really want to empower you with the options and the choices to really support and optimize your hormones. So when your thyroid is out of balance, you are going to have persistent fatigue, moodiness, more anxiety, potential depression, intolerance to cold and feeling chilly. So you got those cold hands and cold feet that are that you might even have when it's like 30 degrees outside, dry hair and skin. And, you know, even Tanya mentioned too, she had hair loss happening as well. And I can definitely relate to a lot of this as well, because back in 2017, I was initially diagnosed with Hashimoto's, autoimmune Hashimotos. And so I was starting to feel in the beginning of 2017, starting to feel really tired. My memory was failing me. I had this brain fog. I felt very puffy in my body. I could not sleep. And it felt very abnormal for me. And I also was starting to experience these really interesting pains in my hands. Like, I love to lift weights. And when I went to the gym to go lift weights, I couldn't really grip the weights. And so I knew something was up. So I went to get my thyroid tested. Most doctors are only testing your TSH. And if your TSH comes back normal, they're going to tell you, well, you're fine, it's not your thyroid. My TSH was normal, but all my other thyroid labs were not. And my antibodies were very, very high. So it's so important. And this is why when I work with women in my practice, that I do a full thyroid panel, because I don't want to miss anything. And this is important. You've got to get your full thyroid panel. You got to look at all of that testing. It's really, really key. So I've been on a journey for many years now, putting my Hashimoto's into remission, and it's definitely been quite the journey. And thyroid health is something that, you know, I love to chat about and support women in. And so I experienced a lot of these symptoms that you see here. You know, the unexplainable weight gain and the brain fog and the trouble concentrating and the forgetfulness. And your thyroid plays a really big role here with digestion. Like I said earlier, a lot of women might feel constipated and bloated and backed up. And you might also experience some issues with your menstrual cycle, menstrual irregularities, maybe even some heavy bleeding. And there's also a connection here between your thyroid and your sex hormones. So estrogen, for example, your thyroid, like I said earlier, it moves things in the body, right? It governs the metabolism. It's how things are moving through your body. And so if your thyroid is slow, your digestion is going to be slow, which means you might not be eliminating, you might not be pooping regularly every day. And what happens is, if you're not having regular bowel movements, 2 to 3 a day, ladies, this is why fiber is so key. You are not having regular bowel movements every day. You are reabsorbing estrogen into your body, because having regular bowel movements is how you eliminate excess estrogen. And so if you can't detox that out, you're actually retoxing your system, recirculating that estrogen. And what can happen is it might lead to estrogen dominance. So I know that, Tanya, you also have an experience here with estrogen dominance as well, right?
Yeah, well, I'm really glad you shared that, because I don't often focus on elimination of the bowels as you know, eliminating my excess estrogens. But having excess estrogen was actually part of the cause of my breast cancer. So it was considered an estrogen related or estrogen dominant cancer. And the cancer actually was feeding and growing off of the excess estrogens in my body. And it's hard to believe because I was only 19, and yet I was having too much estrogen in my body. And I guess some of the symptoms that I was experiencing at the time were extreme PMS, really terrible mood swings. I hate to say this, but it was 25 years of really bad mood swings in those 3 days before my period. And I had acne whenever I was ovulating, like very embarrassing acne in that lower quadrant, which is typically related to hormones, but I didn't know why.
Right.
And I was like crying easily and sometimes yelling at my kids even until I got things under control. And then when I started taking our healthy hormones product, I was taking it for detoxifying estrogen related to not wanting to have disease again. And then about 2.5 months into using the product, all of a sudden my period showed up without 3 days notice. And I was absolutely, I'm like, girl, what are you doing here? Uh, and
Awesome.
I didn't have PMS anymore. I was done. I was detoxified of all that, and my hormones were better balanced. I was a nicer person. That is my husband's favorite product, I think. Much nicer to be around. And then, of course, be careful because then you can be quite fertile, and we got 2 more babies after that.
Oh, that's awesome. What a great story. Thank you for sharing that. And ladies, just diving in there with your periods and your cycle, it's if you're experiencing those PMS issues, those symptoms, breast tenderness and cramping and bloating and headaches and migraines. I know for myself that breast tenderness was one of those symptoms that showed up for me a lot. And I started to pay attention to my diet, of course, and fiber, increasing fiber around my cycle, and things like coffee. Coffee is actually very estrogenic. And so during the second half of my cycle, I became more conscious of drinking decaf, and I did not get breast tenderness symptoms anymore. Wow. So there's so many interesting tweaks that you can make just from a dietary perspective to really support your cycle and optimize your PMS. So let's carry on here. We were talking about Hashimoto's, and it's important to bring this up because it relates with your thyroid. And if you are wondering what really is Hashimoto's, so it is an autoimmune condition, and what it means is that your immune system is kind of gone a little bit haywire, and you have antibodies that are being produced that are attacking your thyroid gland. So that is what autoimmune Hashimoto's is. Now, there are 100+ different autoimmune conditions. Some people have rheumatoid arthritis where antibodies are attacking their joints. There's all kinds of different autoimmune conditions, and basically your immune system lives in your gut, which is why it's so important to support and optimize your gut. And I've had many issues with my gut over the years, from catching a parasite on vacation, just having a lot of food intolerances when I was younger and not recognizing that they were food intolerances. And, all those things really, they really do kind of wreak havoc on your gut, and it can destroy your immune system. And so 95% of women that have been diagnosed with hypothyroidism, it's actually due to autoimmune Hashimoto's. So this is why I can't stress it enough. Make sure you get the full thyroid panel tested, and you can always connect with me via email or over on Instagram if you've got questions about the testing, and I can really help to direct you, okay? And so typically autoimmune, it will also be triggered by certain different toxin or chemical exposures. So, I might be exposed to something in my environment that will really set off my immune system, and it could really trigger that autoimmune response. There could be nutrient deficiencies. If you've got food sensitivities, gluten, dairy, soy, this can impact your immune system and autoimmunity. For example, gluten, it looks very similar to the thyroid gland. So when your antibodies go to attack gluten, they don't know if it's gluten or your thyroid, so they attack both. And this is why, especially with autoimmune Hashimoto's, you gotta go gluten-free. It's so important. And then, of course, infections and leaky gut and gut health, it all plays a really big role here. So I thought it was really important to mention that, so that you just had an idea of, the connection between autoimmune Hashimoto's and thyroid, because it's often the cause of hypothyroidism. So just, moving on to this next slide here, when all of these different factors arise here, the chemical exposures, the infections, these are factors, when they arise, they can really set the stage, and autoimmunity can really be born from this. So how can we, now that I've kind of freaked you out a little bit with all the symptoms, what can we do to really solve this, right?
Yeah.
We want to get protocols in place. We want to know what are the steps we can take to actually heal, to get our vibrant, thriving, energetic bodies back and balance and support our hormones. How can we stop this chaos that cortisol is causing us and really optimize and support adrenal and thyroid function? So let's move into some amazing strategies. And again, if you have questions, do post them. They're in the question box. We'll be sure to get to them at the end. I've been seeing some amazing posts coming in here, and seeing how you guys have been enjoying your time during COVID, and looking at the silver lining and spending time in nature and with your kids, and starting a home garden, and more cleaning, more relaxing, and I love it. So thank you so much for sharing all that. And we want to talk about how you can take back control. What can we actually do to heal? And there are so many amazing strategies that you can implement, because at the end of the day, we want you to feel calm, we want you to feel confident, and we really want to get that cortisol in check. So quick tip number one: sugar is not part of the solution. I'm really sorry to be the bearer of bad news here. And it's not really going to serve us very well on this journey to healing and balancing our hormones, because sugar is going to impact your insulin levels, which will impact your blood sugar levels, and it's going to create this nasty vicious cycle of craving more sugar, craving more carbs, weight gain, PMS, irritability, anxiety. That's what happens when we're eating sugar. Also, an increased cardiovascular disease risk, so heart disease, more inflammation, more gut issues, more weight gain, diabetes, polycystic ovarian syndrome, PMS, menopause, Alzheimer's, and non-alcoholic fatty liver disease. This is all that can really be caused by sugar. So it really is not part of the solution. And I know Tanya earlier had mentioned, does this include chocolate? And she was asking me that earlier.
I was like, no, no, actually, I found that as I ate less and less sugar, my taste buds seemed to change a bit, and I found sweet almost too sweet sometimes. And so everyone on our team knows that I make homemade chocolate, and it's either monk fruit or stevia, mostly stevia sweetened with just melt it, put it on your baking sheet, throw lots of nuts, and get creative hemp seeds and stuff like that, and that's my healthy go-to snack.
Amazing. I love that. And it's sounds like such a simple recipe. So you can have chocolate. In fact, chocolate is loaded with magnesium, which is great for detoxification and for supporting PMS, but you just want to have the right kind and the right quality. So Tanya sweetens her with monk fruit or stevia, which will not have an impact on your blood sugar levels. And also, if you find me over on Instagram at Holistic Wellness Foodie, I love to bake, and I want my clients to enjoy food. I never want people to feel deprived. I just really want to show you how there can be a real delicious way to enjoy your food and to still enjoy desserts and treats. So I do low to no sugar baking, gluten-free baking, dairy-free, and there's a lot of those recipes in the book as well. So let's talk about the solutions and what we can actually include. So sugar is not part of the solution, but whole foods definitely are part of the solution. Choosing wild-caught fatty fish is amazing, and grass-fed, pasture-raised meats. If you are eating animal proteins, you want to choose organic and pasture-raised and grass-fed, and we want to choose a variety of amazing healthy fats, because our hormones need fat to function, and our brain needs fat to function. Our brain is 60% fat, so fuel it with the right kinds of fats. And we want to be choosing just a variety of foods, variety of vegetables, variety of fruits. I always say to my clients, I guarantee if I followed you around for 7 days and watched what you ate, you would be eating the same things over and over and over again. So it's so, I mean, I get it. We get stuck in a routine and we just want our go-tos and our staples, but I really encourage you maybe this week, if you can get out to the grocery store or doing curbside pickup, whatever that looks like, I encourage you to try a new fruit, a new vegetable, something new, get creative, because our diet really serves as our multivitamin. So really eat a variety, and there's so much amazing whole foods out there. And it's not just food that we want to focus on. There's so many pieces to the puzzle that make up our health. And sleep is one of those pieces to the puzzle. You really want to set healthy boundaries around your sleep. And you don't want to be taking your phone to bed. You don't want to be eating all the sugar and drinking the wine right before you go to bed. It will impact your deep sleep. Meditation, fantastic way to actually calm your nervous system and get you into sleep, even if it's just 5 minutes of deep breathing in the morning, even if it's a movement meditation. Some people think they just got to sit there, got to close their eyes, and got to cross your legs. Yes, that's meditation, but it could look different for you than it does for me. Maybe it's a walking meditation. Getting outside in nature is so amazing. Great for lowering your cortisol levels, just being outside and breathing in fresh air, and getting those negative ions, which is so amazing if you're walking barefoot on the earth. And then supplements, they do play a really big role here as well, and we're going to talk about that. So let's dive into different supplement options and also just different food options as well. So protein. We can eat our protein, of course. We want to have a variety of different proteins, whether you're having beans and legumes or fish and seafood and different choices of meat. You have so many great options to choose there. And then, of course, you can also supplement with protein, especially if you're making a smoothie or a shake. You want to put protein in there because it's going to balance out your blood sugar. It's going to provide you with an array of amino acids. And those amino acids, basically when you eat protein, it breaks down into amino acids. Those amino acids go on to support your neurotransmitters, which balance out, guess what? Your cravings. And it also balances out your mood and your energy and your sleep. So it has a really big role in whole body health. It supports our cognition. It also supports muscle mass. So we really want to make sure we're getting protein in. The aquatine from CanPrev, loaded with fiber, loaded with protein, and loaded with omega-3s and a ton of phytonutrients, so which is so amazing, which is going to help with free radical damage and really support cellular health.
Yeah, if I might say something about that product.
Absolutely.
The World Health Organization has deemed it probably the most sustainable supplement on the planet, because it's harvested every 24 hours and it's grown on aqua farms, which are on top of non-arable land, so land where they can't actually do farming. My son, who is 20, he takes it for his muscles. He's always like, Mom, did you put aquatine in that shake? Yes, I put your aquatine. But now that you've told me that fiber is so important to help with estrogen elimination,
Right.
I think I'm going to increase my aquatine. I know a friend of ours, well, she's actually on our team, Sharon. Every time I'm on a morning call with her, she's got this big aquatine drink with her, and she makes it fancy with a straw, and she puts it in a fancy glass, and
amazing.
puts it with vegan milk. And yeah, so sorry, keep on.
That's fantastic. Thank you so much for sharing that. I think it's the sustainability piece is so key. And I'm such a big believer in, where's your dollar going and what are you supporting? And that sustainability is so important. So thanks for sharing that. So let's move on to fiber, because like Tanya said, it's so important. And I just want to make sure my lighting is good here. Okay, there we go. So fiber, important for gut health. It's so important for eliminating that excess estrogen, and your fiber is going to help you detox. It's going to help you have healthy bowel movements. We need those healthy bowel movements. Maybe it's an area that, after listening to our webinar today, that might be an area you need to focus on. So that means increasing vegetables, increasing fruits, Flax is wonderful and it's great for hormones, and chia is wonderful. And then of course you can incorporate something like fiberfill into your smoothie to get that added fiber. It's going to detox your body, remove excess estrogen. It's going to keep you full. It's going to keep you full and satiated, which is key so that you're not reaching for the sugar and all the carbs and the salt and, you know, the chips and whatever, right? So really important to get your fiber in. And then moving on to vitamin D. Vitamin D3, I take my D drops all the time, my D3 drops, and your vitamins, your vitamin D functions more like a hormone than it does an actual vitamin. It's actually very important for insulin management. So if there's anybody that's listening here tonight that has any issues with diabetes or polycystic ovarian syndrome, in fact, the last 3 supplements that I mentioned, protein, fiber, vitamin D, so important for you for supporting your insulin. And your vitamin D, as we all know, which you've been probably hearing a lot over these last few months with the virus and everything, it's going to optimize our immune function, which is so important. We really want to keep that immune system strong, and it's going to support bone density, which is really important as well. And then one of my favorites, ashwagandha. I love this. Love this. It's really my favorite. I got my adrenal chill here. I keep it on my desk because I don't want to forget to ever take it. It's here beside my laptop, right? See? It's here beside my laptop every day, and it is so fantastic. Ashwagandha actually does help with T4 to T3 conversion. What does that even mean? So T4 is your inactive form of your thyroid. T3 is your active form. T3 is what is going to give you a really nice boost in your metabolism and your energy and your brain health. You really want that T3. And in order to support converting that T4 to the active T3, ashwagandha can help you do that, which is wonderful. It's also great for libido. It is, and for both men and women, which is wonderful. It supports your adrenals and your thyroid, so it's kind of like a double whammy there, which is great. It's going to really balance out and support your mood, which is, especially if you've got a lot of, you know, feeling anxious, then ashwagandha is going to be really, really great for that. And it can really help with brain health, supporting memory and supporting focus. And especially in the adrenal chill, there is a clinically proven a strain, like a specific, how do I want to say it? Like form of ashwagandha. And it's known as KSM66, and it's this specific form of ashwagandha that's been clinically studied to really support all these different areas of your health, which is fantastic. So I'm a big fan of it, and I love this one. And then, of course, we've got our omega-3 fatty acids. These are my favorite. And if you want to beautify your skin from the inside out, omega-3s are going to be fantastic for that. Your omega-3s are anti-inflammatory. They will lower inflammation. They will support your hormone health. Like I said earlier, your hormones need fat to function. So give them good quality anti-inflammatory fats. It's going to support your brain, your cardiovascular and your heart health. In fact, taking omega-3s can lower your risk of a heart attack by 50%, and no pharmaceutical on the market can actually do that for you. Wow. And so heart health, joint health, lowering inflammation, improving gut health, and lubricating our joints, beautifying our skin, our hair, and our nails as well. Omega-3s are really, really important. So before we finish off here, we've got just another slide here about supplements. I wanted to break down thyroid and adrenals and just some other ones that I wanted to throw in here. So specifically with thyroid health, so you can take a thyroid complex. So something like the Thyroid Pro would be really helpful from CanPrev, which is going to provide you, think of it like a multivitamin made specifically for your thyroid. That's kind of what the complex is. So you can take a complex, so you've got all of those nutrients, something like perfect, there we go, Thyroid Pro right there. Something like that, that has your iodine, that has your selenium, that has your zinc, that has all those important cofactors that help with the conversion of T4 to T3. So selenium is really great. You can also get selenium from Brazil nuts. Iodine, really important. I love seaweed snacks. I'm so obsessed with them. I eat those all the time. And the only thing I would put a little asterisk here is to be careful with iodine supplementation if you do have an autoimmune condition, specifically autoimmune Hashimotos. So just to be really careful there. And again, working with a practitioner so you can gauge what you need or don't need. Desiccated thyroid. This could be another option for you if you are if you've been on Synthroid or levothyroxine, it only is providing you with T4. So if you feel like you're not getting better and your dosage keeps going up, you know, it might be time to have that conversation with perhaps a naturopath and talk about another option like desiccated thyroid, which is bioidentical hormone. And I used this for many years and it really helped to support me. And then beef liver, which is amazing. You can eat beef liver. Not many people want to eat it. I actually do quite like it. But beef liver is loaded with vitamin A, which is really important for thyroid health. Probiotics are important here. Your zinc, your B vitamins are so important here. And then moving on to the adrenals. So an adrenal complex could be really helpful here. So again, the Adrenal Pro or something like the Adrenal Chill could be really great for you. And then vitamin C. When you are highly stressed, your body is eating through that vitamin C. So get in some really good antioxidant berries, which provide you with that vitamin C, but also consider supplementing with it as well. Your omega-3s are going to be important here. Vitamin D, magnesium is so great for your adrenal health, and then also your zinc and your B vitamins. Your B vitamins are involved in every neurological process in your body. They're really, really helpful. So here are some really great strategies that you can implement. I really hope that I was able to provide you with some key tips and key strategies that you can go and implement tonight. I would love to hear what that might look like. And I'm going to loop back Tanya in here. If there's anything you want to add here to supplementation, I'll let you take it.
Well, nobody has taken more supplements than me, I think. But yeah, you have to be careful and remember that with natural health products, it takes time. You got to give it at least 3 months. Don't give in. Take it full dose. Read how to take it on the label. Get your doctor's permission, and have a little patience, and it will all pay off. I see a lot of questions coming in. And I think why don't we head right to the Q&A? You've been awesome, Sam, and I'll thank you again at the end. But yeah, a lot of questions coming in.
Yes, there's some really great, and I love these comments. Oh my God, you made great sweet potato waffles over this past 3 months during coronavirus. That's amazing. I want to know about that. So let's go through here. I'm going to pull out some questions here. Just bear with me, ladies, as I'm seeing all these questions. Okay, does CanPrev have a supplement to assist with the quality of sleep?
Yes. I think everything we've been talking about will add to your sleep by having better balanced hormones. You won't be that wired, tired person that you just can't sleep, or you wake up, and you just can't sleep. It also depends, of course, on your age and stage of life. So if you're not menopausal, then you're probably needing to relax more. So we have a product called Magnesium Sleep. Oh, there's a friend. Pet your cat before bed. That might help. We do have a product called Magnesium Sleep. Generally, magnesium is good to get you relaxed in the evening, and I don't do without my magnesium in the evening. And it gets you into deeper sleep. It might not be a longer sleep, but when you wake up, you'll be so refreshed. So take a look at our magnesium.ca webpage, and also look at Magnesium Sleep, which is a particular product for sleep. And good luck. I hope that helps. And if you are menopausal, then we have a product that I started taking when I was getting hot flashes. It's called MenoPrev Plus Mood and Memory, and that will also help balance your hormones for that phase of your life and get a better sleep.
Amazing. Yes, I love that. And ladies, magnesium is your best friend. I do recommend it before bed, and CanPrev does have a really great high dose as well. So I do recommend probably a good 400 milligrams before you go to bed, anywhere from 300 to 400 milligrams, roughly 30 to 40 minutes before bed. I don't think I've ever missed a magnesium dose in the past like 6-7 years. It's my go-to. Oh, this is so sweet. Holly said, my husband and I are closer than ever, and that is beautiful. Thanks so much for sharing that. Let's see here. I'm going through some of these. Some people were sharing their icebreakers.
Yeah, they've been fun. I've been kind of scanning through a bit. They're really fun. But one recurring question is about weight loss.
Yes.
I've seen about at least 5 of those. So weight gain, weight loss. Do you want to talk about that a bit?
Absolutely, absolutely. This weight loss is what I've been doing for 15 years in practice. And where I feel that I really come in and fill the gap is, so many weight loss programs focus on, here's your calories, go work out and go track your macros, and that's that, right? And yes, those things matter, absolutely, but we as women, we're very complex, and we have hormones, and they are running the show, and we got to address those hormones. It's really, really key. Especially as we age, we do have thyroid output that slows down, which slows down our metabolism. We do have our sex hormones that start to decline, which also plays a role with metabolism. Our blood sugar tends to go up, which leads to more weight gain. So we have to take these hormones into account. And for anybody that's interested in weight loss, what I would say is, number one, come email me, come connect with me, come find me over on Instagram. We can connect about it more there for sure. But a few key pieces are that you don't want to ignore your hormone health. You want to be making sure you are hydrated and drinking a ton of water. This is also something that is so overlooked. I like to have my clients hyperhydrate, drinking 3 to 4 liters of water a day. That alone is going to make a huge difference on your weight. Focusing on whole foods and really eliminating the inflammatory culprits. So number one, you're going to have huge success doing that by following the recipes in the meal plan in my book, which you may win. And then, of course, over on my Instagram, tons of amazing recipes, tons of great support there. And I do run, some really great online weight loss programs if anybody really wants to dive in deeper and get some support there. So don't hesitate to reach out, but I really hope that gives you some guidelines. It can be really hard to just kind of, there's no magic pill, there's no magic solution. We are also bio individually and biochemically different. So this is why it's so important that, I work with women individually. We test your hormones, we dive in deeper, and we can get a really clear picture of how we can best support you and really optimize your weight loss goals. So I've got over like 400 weight loss transformations, and they're amazing. So definitely an area I work closely with. There's a question.
Guess, you can stay a little bit longer, Sam?
Oh yeah, absolutely. Go ahead, ladies, and keep posting if you've got some questions. We're going to do our best to get to some of these here. So I don't mind staying on and answering.
I know some people might have to go, so we'll stay on a little bit after. And there were a few good questions, like on dry skin and mental breakdown and stuff like that. But for those of you who have to go, a couple of things. I just want to thank you, and I want to thank Samantha. You've been amazing. You've covered so much. Like I feel a little overwhelmed, but I'm going to take those nuggets and those treasures with me that really apply to me, and I hope other people will do that. I thought I'd quickly share with you, since we've gotten a little personal tonight, a dream I had over the weekend. And it was about a chessboard, and I was about to win, and I was going to make my last move, and I was going to say checkmate. And as I went to pick up that piece to move, it disintegrated in my hand. And I woke up and I was like really distraught. And I always try to figure out if I can learn something from my dream. And what I learned is that that piece, which I had been moving, was probably slowly crumbling inside as I was moving it. But at some point, just when I was thinking I was at my peak and I was going to win, it crumbled. And that's how we are sometimes. We are starting to crumble inside, and then if we wait too long, we will end up. I've had stress-related depression before. You don't want to wait that long. So I'm glad that we're here tonight and we're addressing self-care. Take care of yourself now. And the second thing I learned from that dream was that in order to get to that point, I had to have all those other pieces around me. I had to have my community. I had to have my people. And you can't get to your end goal in life all on your own. You're going to need help. So humble yourself if you have to. Ask for help. Get some great health practitioners around you. And yeah, that's my dream.
Amazing. Thank you for sharing that.
Don't forget to take our questionnaire, and don't forget to follow us on all of the different social platforms. I don't know if we have a slide. There we go. There's some of our platforms, and at the bottom is Samantha's Holistic Wellness Foodie on Instagram. So if we don't get to your questions, or if you have more, definitely reach out to her or to me. Ask Tanya at canprev.ca. So thanks again, and have a great evening, and hang out a little longer if you can.
Amazing. Yes. Oh, and there's the prize pack. Amazing. So I love putting that collagen in my morning elixirs, and it's going to beautify your skin, which is fantastic. So make sure you ladies head on over to the URL that's there. You will be emailed it out as well. And so keep an eye out in your inbox as well, and just head to the URL, fill out your hormone questionnaire, and then you will be automatically entered to win one of 10 prize packs. So I'm so excited for you. So let's dive into some of these questions here. Tanya, was there one specifically you wanted to?
Someone asked what to do about dry skin.
Ooh, dry skin. Okay, definitely your omegas. That's going to be really, really huge. Your omegas will be really helpful. You have to think about, it's not just what we do externally, but it's also what we do internally as well, right? So your omegas are going to be really wonderful for that, and hydration is going to be really wonderful for that. And then if, especially at this time of year, if you are spending a lot of time outside in the sun, it can be very dehydrating to your skin. Coffee can be very dehydrating to the skin. So you have to think about those things. And so if you're overdoing it with the coffee, you know, you might have to step up with the water and the hydration. Also, putting a pinch of sea salt into your water is going to be really great, because that's what actually provides you with those minerals, those trace minerals that hydrate the cell. So that will be fantastic. And then also, you know, just be conscious if you're outside in the sun a lot, that will kind of dry out the skin too. So again, it might mean you need more water, or having fruits and vegetables that are also very water dense, things like celery or cucumber or watermelon. These are really great, and especially cucumber. Keep the skin on, buy organic, keep the skin on, because in the skin of the cucumber, that's where you get all the silica, and that silica is what beautifies your skin. So just a little note there.
Yeah, I take our liquid omega-3 fish oil. It's called Omega Pro DHA.
Yes.
So that one is particularly helpful for, I have a dry eye condition. Screens don't help that. And I think it's really been helping to hydrate my skin somehow as well.
That's amazing. Yeah, I use that one too. I love it. And I love that it's a high dose too, which is great. Okay, let's see.
One of the questions came in from a woman who is on the pill and antidepressants, and she's wondering if there's any hope for her, she said.
Of course. Yes, there is always hope. Number one, I acknowledge you for being here tonight, because it's this information that will empower you to make those better choices. Definitely in my book, I do talk about strategies for coming off of the pill. The thing with the birth control pill is that it does shut down our hormones. It shuts down our estrogen or progesterone. It shuts down your ovaries from producing your own hormones. Any sort of synthetic birth control, synthetic hormones will increase your risk of breast cancer, potentially ovarian cancer. So we really want to be conscious about this. And so I'm not a big fan of hormonal birth control. I do think that monitoring your cycle, just the kind of the old school way, the natural family planning way, where you track cervical mucus, you track temperature. This is 99.9% effective. It's just as effective as using the birth control pill. So, that's what my partner and I do, and I just track that monthly, because I want to avoid pregnancy. So whether you're looking to get pregnant or not, this is the method that would work for you either way. So yes, there's absolutely hope for you. I think number one, it's important to take a look at your diet, see what you can see what you can eliminate in your diet that might be very inflammatory, and start to introduce some good mood foods, those things that we spoke about tonight, and getting in the protein and getting in those healthy fats, replenishing those nutrient deficiencies that is happening from being on the pill. Start there first, and then maybe make a decision or work with myself or another practitioner where you can really dive in deeper for a great and a strategic protocol for coming off of the pill and supporting your body with some really strategic supplements. But I hope that sheds a little bit of insight.
Oh yeah. Further to that, I know we do have some people on the pill, and I could never take the pill because it put me at higher risk for breast cancer.
Of course.
So I was grateful that I was able to get my my cycle at 28 days with a healthy hormones product, and then I knew when my day 14 was.
Yes.
And so that has been really helpful and worked for 8 years. And then I got pregnant because I stopped taking healthy hormones for one summer. That's how baby 3 came. And then after that, my husband said, "Oh, what's one more?" So then we had baby number 4.
Wow.
But if you're on antidepressants, I know that can be very tricky, and it would be great to have a practitioner who has helped other people get off depressants to help you with that. It's going to be very gradual, and you can do a lot of support of your adrenal and your thyroid and all the things we talked about tonight. You probably might even be given like extra dosing, your protocol might be off label for what you're doing. And but there's definitely hope, and just have the right people around you to help you through that.
Absolutely. That is so key. You want to find your team of people, your team of practitioners, of people who can really support you. Even, yes, I'm a nutritionist, I know a lot, but I still have a team. When I went through Hashimoto's in that first year when I was diagnosed and all those symptoms, I had my osteo, and I had my massage therapist, I had my naturopath. I needed that team around me who could take a look at what I was doing, because sometimes you need that outside view, right? You need that outside support. So start to build your team. Okay, some more questions. Anything you want to call out there?
One person has hypothyroidism, but is still and they're on some great CanPrev supplements, but still they just can't shake some of that weight gain. So any other tips for that?
So yes, sorry, they're hypothyroid.
Yeah.
So my number,
sorry, I don't know if you're on
that's okay. My number one suggestion with anybody who's on this call tonight that is hypothyroid is to make sure you're getting a full thyroid panel. That's the first step. You want to make sure you are having a full thyroid panel tested. And not only that, it's not just doing the testing, but it's having the right practitioner interpret the results for you. Because oftentimes, and I'm sure many of us have experienced this, where your doctor's like, "Oh, you're within range." What does that actually mean? Am I at the low end? Am I optimal? Right? You got to know these things. So working with a practitioner who can interpret it will be really, really key. So that's the first step, is get the right test. And then step number 2 is to get the interpretation. And then from there, we can really see, is it your thyroid? Are there issues going on there with your T3? Maybe it's too low, and there's not enough conversion of T4 to T3. So you need those cofactors to help that. And then of course, taking a real strategic look over your diet. So a lot of the things that I mentioned tonight, making sure you're getting in, and I talk about it in my book, protein, fat, and fiber. That is where it is at, and that is where you want to focus. You want to make sure your meals have a lot of good quality protein, healthy fats, avocado, olives, olive oil, avocado oil, nuts, seeds, flax. There's so many great options. And then you also want to make sure that you are getting in the fiber, which will come from your vegetables. So protein, fat, and fiber, that is where it's at. That is what you want to focus on. And that will be really helpful for hormone health and for weight loss.
Yeah, there's a question here. Thanks for that, Sam. There's a question here. It says, "I suffer from hormonal migraines, and there are a lot of things you can do for that. And my daughter, for example, if she doesn't mind me, she's here, doesn't mind me saying, she was getting migraines that we had to take her to the hospital for because she was vomiting and couldn't walk and things like that. And it turned out that she was low iron, but it was around her period
Right.
that the migraines were being triggered. So
Yes.
her iron is in a much better level now. Her naturopathic doctor wants her in the higher part of the range. She was at the bottom of the normal range, still in the normal range. And of course, magnesium. Magnesium is very well known to help with migraines in general, and a vitamin called Q10. And we have a product called ubiquinol, which is a very absorbable form of Q10. So ubiquinol, it's a weird name, but that is vitamin Q10. And if you take that regularly, that can help. But what about from your standpoint, Sam?
Yeah, I think that those are all fantastic. And this is also why testing is so important. So you can see if you're low in any specific nutrients or whatnot, because that can definitely play a role with migraines. And then the other thing is cyclically, like paying attention to your cycle and where that's happening. So is it happening in the follicular phase in the first half of your cycle? Is it happening around ovulation or in your luteal phase? Paying attention to where it's happening in your cycle can really indicate if it's linked to potentially a hormone surge or perhaps maybe a low hormone decline. So that can really help to gauge if it's more hormonally related. What else here? Oh, aquatine. Do you make it a shake or add it to a shake? Yes, you can add it to a shake. You can make like a smoothie with it. And you can, throw it into your, I don't know if you have a Vitamix, I have a Vitamix, throw it into your Vitamix with, whatever nut milk. When you make your smoothies, I do recommend, again, protein, fat, and fiber. So aquatine is going to give you the protein. In fact, it will give you protein and fiber and some really great omegas. So you might want to throw a scoop of that into your blender with some coconut milk, throw in a few frozen berries. I love to add frozen cauliflower to my smoothies because it's tasteless and it adds the fiber. So frozen cauliflower. And then I also like to seed cycle to support my hormones. So my first half of my cycle, I will typically add flaxseed to my smoothie. And then the second half, I will add in sesame seeds to support progesterone, and flax will support estrogen. So that's kind of a shake that you can make there. That would be really amazing for hormone health.
Yeah, and how my son does it, he just puts in water and stirs, and it has an earthy flavor. It's very green.
Perfect. Yep.
And it's alkaline, so it's pH balancing. What I was doing through winter is I would add it to some warm vegan milk in the evening. And dating myself here, but if you remember the product Ovaltine, your grandma used to make, it's like my earthy nighttime cozy drink. And I don't need a blender. You can just stir it, and it stirs in quite well.
Amazing. That's great. Awesome. Someone is asking, will you be providing recipes to help incorporate these amazing products into one diet? Do you guys have recipes to share from the CanPrev site?
Yeah, they're kind of here and there. And so if you were to put in do a search for recipe, I think that's probably the easiest way to pull them up.
Perfect. And then obviously there's a ton of great recipes in my book that you can follow there. There's tons on my website, and I do post some really great recipes over on my Instagram where I use, the collagen or even the Myco10, which is one of my favorite products, the mushroom blend, or fiber feel. Like, you can also find some great recipes that I posted over there as well.
There's a question here. My thyroid is enlarged. I've lost half of the volume of my hair. And yet the doctor seems to think everything's normal. It was explained to me that even though your numbers on your test look normal, you still could have a bit of a compromised situation, especially that since your thyroid is enlarged and you've got the symptoms with the hair loss. So you're going to want to definitely support both the thyroid and your adrenal glands together in the good full doses regularly. see if that's going to help. And since your hair loss is so extreme, you might be interested in our Healthy Hair product, which has clinically proven just in a few months, you will see that the root bulb it's holding your hair in longer. So that's just like it's not going to the root of your issue with your thyroid, but it's physically holding the hair in longer. So I take it.
Amazing. Yeah, that's a really, really great tip there. Someone is asking, is adrenal chill okay for men? Yes, it is. Absolutely. Can ashwagandha help with hyperthyroidism and type 1 diabetes? That's a great question. I would say that I often find ashwagandha more helpful with hypothyroidism, but keep in mind that it's more of an adrenal support. It's just you get that added benefit for the thyroid. So it's not going to overstimulate the thyroid by any means. What it's going to do is help support the cortisol, and that in turn will support the thyroid. So if you are hyper or type 1 diabetes, I would say that'd be safe to take, unless Tanya, you want to mention or add something there otherwise.
No, not really.
Okay. What is?
There's this one. I'm not premenopausal.
Okay.
But I definitely have sugar and salt cravings, and always thought it had to do with the food. I guess sugar is addictive, and Timbits are so yummy. But I never thought to look into myself because I feel great and don't feel stressed. But maybe I don't realize it. So she's doing the Timbits. It sounds like.
Okay. Yeah, so there is a way out, and you know, it definitely starts with, if you feel overwhelmed by what you have to take out of your diet, start to focus on what you need to include. So that might mean more protein, more fat, and fiber. Focusing on those things helps to balance out your blood sugar. When you get that blood sugar stabilized, you will have less sugar and carb cravings. Also, water, hydration, so important, so important. That will really help to support sugar and carb cravings as well. And this is something we address in my book, and it's also something we do in our reset program online, our weight loss reset program. We get to really the root of sugar and carb cravings. We're addressing hormones, and we're also really addressing the weight, and you get a full plan there too. So if anyone needs support there, don't hesitate to reach out and let me know. We can definitely support you in that way. But yeah, I get it. It's a nasty cycle. Once you start, it's definitely hard to break. So I feel, like I said, focus on what to include. And as you start to include more of the good, you find that the bad, you get less of, you want less of the bad, right?
Yeah, try my homemade chocolate recipe.
Chocolate. Yeah.
Put some dried fruit in for sweetness and some stevia. By the way, we've had several questions tonight. Can we get the slides from tonight? And yes, we will email them to you if you ask for the slides. So go to info@canprev.ca. Another comment apparently that's come in is about the smell of our Healthy Hormones product. It's actually a good thing because it means it's actually really potent from cruciferous vegetables. So if you've ever smelled concentrated broccoli, the good news is we do have a desiccant in there that's actually keeping some of the smell off. I know some people actually plug their nose when they take it. I just got used to it, so it doesn't bother me at all.
For sure.
I know how much it helps me. So don't give up on your healthy hormones.
Oh, that is so funny. And, cruciferous veggies, you're smelling sulfur. So garlic, onions, broccoli, cauliflower, cabbage, you're smelling sulfur. And that sulfur is so incredible for your liver and detoxing your hormones. So it is a good thing, even though it might not be that enjoyable. It's a good thing for sure.
And it's funny, a neighbor of mine, because I live in farmland and we're having some problems with bugs up here, she said that if we add yellow sulfur into the hole where we're putting our potatoes, that the bugs won't come to the potato plant. And it's because our soil is so depleted that we need to add the sulfur sometimes.
Wow.
So that's pretty sad, but pretty true. And just on a note about recipes, my colleague reminded me that we do have powdersystems.ca, and that'll give you some great ideas for your smoothies and customizing your proteins, your collagens, all those great powders that we have, and making a great elixir.
Amazing. That's wonderful. I think maybe we have time for maybe one more question. I see a question here that's actually about thyroid and adrenal issues that might begin in a girl as young as 12. My stepdaughter seems to have a lot of issues similar to mine. I'm on my way out having perimenopause problems, and she's in her first year of menstrual activity. So this is a great question. And yeah, absolutely. You know, these issues can potentially show up quite young, especially if there's been any sort of health history, family health history. It could point to some early stages of thyroid issues or adrenal. But more than that, I would say, especially in a 12-year-old, it's about looking at their diet. It's about looking at their sleep, looking at their activity, and really supporting them with really great nutrients that you can do through supplements. So start there first. That alone can have such an impact on someone's menstrual cycle before diving in, you know, deeper to testing or anything like that. That's where I would start.
Okay, last question.
Yeah, go for it.
Someone asked, how do you do cortisol testing?
Oh, yeah. So I do the Dutch test. So that's the test that I do in my practice. And basically, it's a dried urine test. So what you do is you are peeing on 5 different strips over a 12-hour period. And what this does is it looks at your estrogen, your progesterone, your testosterone, and it looks at your DHEA, which is the mother of all your hormones. And then it also looks at your cortisol production. And so with blood testing and with saliva testing, you can't actually see the metabolites of your hormones, but you can see that through your urine, and it breaks it down. It's the best test. Every woman needs to do the Dutch test every single year. So with your urine test, with the Dutch test, we can see over a 12-hour period how you're producing your cortisol and what the function of your adrenal glands are really looking like. Are you overproducing cortisol? Are you underproducing? Are you overproducing the whole day? Are you flatlined the whole day? We can really see what that all looks like. We can also get a look at, are you utilizing your cortisol, or are you, oh, there you go. We lost you for a second. And we can also see, you know, cortisol and cortisone, which is like stored cortisol. So it's really quite detailed. The testing also looks at your melatonin production, different B vitamins, different neurotransmitters, some inflammatory markers and antioxidants. But the most important thing about the Dutch test is that, especially with your estrogen, we can look at your estrogen metabolites. And what that means is that your body produces really good, healthy estrogens, and it also produces some not so good estrogens. So we can actually see through your testing, okay, are you producing really good, healthy estrogen? If it's too low, let's support that healthy estrogen. Are you overproducing the quote unquote bad estrogen, which can lead to breast cancer or ovarian cancer? If that's the case, let's work on detoxing that out. So the Dutch test is fantastic. We have a full Dutch program that we have in place where, you know, you get your testing, you work with our naturopath on our team here, and then you work with myself, and we work with you over an 8 to 12 week period to really get strategic protocols in place. So you can always reach out if you have more questions about that. Tanya, I don't know if you're still there, or did we lose you? We may have lost you there. I'll just see if Tanya might be popping back in here, and I'll get to another question here. Can a holistic nutritionist refer you for blood work? I asked my family doctor to test my D3 and more thyroid, but she refused. Not all holistic nutritionists can. I do have extra certifications for doing lab requisitions, so I can actually run quite a few tests. So yes, for myself, I can do thyroid testing. We do run a metabolic panel with all of our clients. We do D3 vitamin testing, and then we do the hormone testing as well. You're back.
I'm back. I think I'm blurry.
All right. Do you want to wrap us up? I think we're at the end of our show here.
Yeah, there's definitely a few more questions I'm sure we didn't get to, but check out Samantha's Instagram page, and I think I'm blurry right now.
A little bit,
so
yes.
A real sign. It's time for me to shut up. Definitely write to me, Ask Tanya at CA. Follow us on our Instagram, our Facebook, and we hope to do this again sometime. Thanks so much for your time. Take care and be safe.
Thanks, everyone.
Bye.
Take care.
Keep smiling.
Bye.
Bye.